The American economy now has a new slogan: buy now, pay later. Consumers are hurting, so they kind of have to. There's now new polls showing that 51% of Americans are having to use installment plans for just regular online purchases. Now, this is not luxury items, a leather coat. These are things that people need, like an air conditioner, a heater, something to fix their home. Another 17% saying they're using this occasionally, especially among lower income households. 37% are using these installment plans compared to 21% of higher income family. Now, that's because the economy is just too hard to live. Now, the U.S. government and officials in the Trump administration, when they're asked about how hard the economy has become, especially fuel prices, gas prices, living expenses, they kind of shrugged their shoulders and said, we needed to have this pain because Iran and nuclear weapons. That's kind of how it is. Now, credit card payments are having higher installment plan. Again, credit card use, higher installment plan use. This is how desperate it's become for the working class. And why do they have to do this? Because the value of the U.S. dollar is plummeting by the day due to government action. Now, a real indicator of trouble, not the stock market, which continues to sort of bounce around based on emotion and the perversion of government messaging, but no, the Treasury yields is where we get a real indicator. Now, 30-year Treasury hit a 20-year high recently. The 10-year Treasury spiked to 15 months high. That means that the government's own debt is skyrocketing along with consumer debt. And in fact, it leads it. Now, a Treasury yield is basically what interest rate does the U.S. government have to pay to borrow money? Now, you know that we're going to war for billions of dollars. We don't have it. We're having to borrow to do it, and we're borrowing at higher and higher rates because we're not good for it. Collectively, we're not good for it. And because U.S. Treasuries are considered the risk-free benchmark, almost every other interest rate is built on top of it. So your mortgage, business loans, auto loans, credit card, corporate debt, commercial real estate financing, even developing country borrowing, developing countries who have nothing to do with this will hurt because of it. So think about how unfair that is. It's harder for consumers to borrow money because the government is over borrowing for their own priorities, not yours, clearly. And that will stagnate the economy and weaken your purchasing power. So if you make $5, you can't buy very much with that $5, even less than you could yesterday. Now, when the 10 or the 30-year Treasury yield spikes, the government is paying more interest, companies pay more interest, and consumers pay more interest. And a heavily indebted system starts straining. Well, starts is the wrong word. Strains further beyond even comprehension. Now, this is what former Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson calls the doom loop. It's a scary feedback loop where governments run massive debts. They issue more bonds to finance that debt. Investors are nervous, so they want higher yield, and deficits worsen even more. Governments issue more debt. Investors demand higher yields. I mean, how long can we do this, right? It's almost like you just keep going deeper and deeper underwater, so you just swim down.